related, meaning like if you're afraid of like I'm not the guy for you. Sorry.
Yeah.
Like I'm from New Jersey.
But I'm surprised that the platforms are doing that though.
Me too. But I it wasn't my idea. I saw that a lot of bigger channels were doing that, and I know these are channels that are definitely in touch with YouTube, and it changed my channel right away when I started doing that, for sure. So, it's sad we got to do that though.
Well, what we need is crazy and we need it. I just want to be able to see if like, let's just say somebody films a snake and it's halfway through eating grandma and her feet are still sticking out of its mouth and the snake is working on her. But then like one of the other workers on the farm is like filming this and you just see her feet going down the snake's mouth. Like, I want to be able to find that video. That's what I'm really trying to say. Okay.
It's all on Telegram.
It's what?
It's all on Telegram.
On Telegram.
There's like Telegram channels where it's like you can subscribe to that kind of.
That might be the spot. Interesting.
What is Telegram? What is the dark web?
I mean, you could have anything. It's just like a big group chat,
Telegram?
You could have 50,000 people that are in a site. It's kind of like Discord, but like no rules.
Yeah, no rules. It's like a lot of. So like a lot. You know what, Paul? It's good that you don't know these things. Don't worry about it. I don't need to fill your head with this stuff.
No, because the fact that he said, "Oh, this is like this," and you're like, "Oh yeah," and I've never even heard of that.
That's good.
What is it?
Don't worry about
it.
Okay,
fine.
All right.
Going back to the jungle.
You're doing great. You're doing great. Keep doing podcasts and Instagram. We'll keep growing that.
Okay.
By the way, if you're not subscribed to Paul on Instagram, go get that credit card out. It's a great $5 spent. You're putting up a lot of content there now too. I know.
I want to start asking you and everybody else, what, like, I want to make it different, and I want to, like, I know what I want to do. You know what I mean? Like, I want to just like put like, because I don't feel comfortable. I don't want my main Instagram feed to be what I'm doing every day. But like with like the toucan, like there's so many videos where I'm like, yo, I'm teaching a toucan how to fly. And it's like goofy shit. And it's like, that's what the subscriber thing could be. Like that'll be fun. So I'm still like getting,
and it all
getting
supports
the hang
Jungle
of that.
Keepers doing that.
Well, yes, Jungle Keepers though, the difference is that's my channel. That's under the Paul Rosolie umbrella. Jungle Keepers is Jungle Keepers. So monthly subscription to Jungle Keepers is a different thing.
Oh, you separated them out. What am I subscribed to? Am I subscribed to you or Jungle Keepers or both?
I don't know. You might be. Jungle Keepers has so many donors at this point that
I can't keep them straight.
I don't have the, like, if I look at the master list, it would take me a while to scroll through it.
That's good.
That's really good.
It wasn't like that 14 months ago.
Instagram, I only have a few people.
All right.
And you're one of them. So
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Well, go do that. I'll find out which. I think I'm on your personal. I might be on Jungle Keepers too, or one or the other. But go do that for sure, people. But what about like when you went down there? Obviously, JJ had lived in this environment his whole life and everything, but he's able to track animals by using some of their sounds too. And he's taught you how to do that. Like, did he start doing that right away when you got down there? And how quickly were you able to pick some of that up?
JJ. With animal tracking, see the crazy thing when you see someone with skill at this level is that, at first you're talking like this, and then you're having a conversation with somebody. You don't know if they're a war hero. You don't know what they've been through. You can't see the sum of experience that a human contains. And when you're walking through the jungle with JJ, you're talking about normal stuff, and he's we're asking each other questions, and then all of a sudden you'll just see him stop and be like, "Oh, I haven't seen this seed in 20 years. And then he'll tell you this story about this seed, and you're like, how do you remember that seed looks like all the other seeds? Or recently there was this thing where we stopped and, he's teaching me this stuff. And so we're walking and he stops by the edge of a stream and he goes, look at that Jaguar print right there. And I was like, oh, nice. And he was like, tell me what you see. I was like, male Jaguar. He was like, good. Congrats. And he was like, what else? So I like look around and I'm like, okay. And then I'm like, oh shit, it drank. I could see two paws, and the toes were pushed down more. He's like, very good. He's like being patient with me. He's like, yeah, what? Like, he's like, can you get there? I'm like, I'm trying. So I like lay down on the ground. I'm like looking at these tracks and he's like, look, okay, actually, he's like, there's a reason that we have to go faster than this.
It's right behind you.
Well, he was like, see the tracks that you're looking at? And I was like, yes. He's like, you see how there's like leaves and bits of stuff in there and some pollen like sprinkled over it and they're kind of dry? And I was like, yeah. He's like, well, look at those. And they're like right over here, there's another drinking set, and the mud was still settling. And I went, wait, what? And he was like, yeah. And I went, wait, hold up. So what we know about jaguars is that jaguars have huge home ranges that they patrol. They're always doing these huge patrols. So I'm like, this is old enough that it's from yesterday and there's leaves in it. And then this is obviously from today. And then there's a huge piece of jaguar shit on the beach and it's got butterflies all over it. And JJ picks it up. It's pretty dry. And he goes,
he picks up the shit with his hands?
Picks up the log of shit. It's mostly fur. Pulls out some of the fur and he goes, what do you think this is? And I went, red brocket deer? And he goes, yes, red brocket deer.
What's that?
It's a deer. It's a small deer that lives in the jungle.
I thought that was one word. Sorry.
And so then I'm like, okay, so wait. And now I'm getting it. And he's like, So the jaguar was here yesterday. The jaguar came here and shit. Red brocket deer, drank today. And then he's like, now look at this. And he takes my shoulder and he turns me around. And there's a vulture. There's a pair of vultures right up on this branch. And I'm like, what's wrong with these vultures? They're not looking at us. They're so close to us, but they're not looking at us. They're looking right over there. Because the jaguar had killed a red brocket deer, had come to the river to drink, gone back to the deer, eaten more, slept, came back, took a drink today, and took a shit. And the vultures weren't looking at us because there was a greater predator just out of our view. The jaguar was sitting on its kill while we're having a conversation about its tracks. It's just on the other side of the bushes.
How far away?
20 feet. While JJ's sitting here telling me all this, he was like, that's why I was trying to rush you. He was like, there's literally a jaguar right behind those leaves. And so he's like, come on, let's go. And I was like, okay, cool. Like, he's like, we probably should just let it eat. And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
But it's like that stuff like that, you're sitting and his delivery is very, very like that. He's like, yeah. Lay down on your stomach, roll around, look at the butterflies, whatever else. And he's just like tracking this jaguar. And he's like, look, at some point you got to finish the test, right? Because we might not have all day. Like,
how close can you get to a jaguar and think it's going to most likely be fine?
It depends on the individual. It depends it depends the tempo at which you meet. So JJ has a story where he told me that and the great thing is he doesn't mind me impersonating his voice. He's seen all the podcast clips. But he told me the story. He was like, yeah, I was walking through the forest and he goes, so for a while I sit and I was enjoying the forest. And I was like, well, that's really nice, JJ. He goes, yeah. He goes, the cappuccinos are there. And he's talking about the capuchin monkeys. Yeah, he loves saying cappuccinos. And I said, okay. So I'm imagining JJ sitting in the forest on a log looking at the capuchin monkeys. He goes, and then he goes, I see the jaguar. He's also looking at the cappuccinos, but he doesn't see me. So JJ's sitting on a log, chilling, enjoying the monkeys. And this jaguar comes out and is tracking the monkeys, not realizing that JJ's just sitting there. And then he was like, for a while I sat there. He goes, then I move and the jaguar saw me and he goes, he feels so embarrassed and he goes. And like in JJ and these guys, they all talk about each animal as if it's like a single character, like the fox does this.
Right.
The jaguar does that. And so, he said, when he saw me, he felt so embarrassed. Like you picture a cat just being like, oh shit, I didn't know you were there. And then it just went off into the jungle. But like he was,
ran from him
20 feet. And, it doesn't have to run. I don't think in this situation, I don't think it ran. I think it just, oh shit, they don't like being watched. They want to be the ones watching. I am the one who knocks, he just, and then he just went off. I've had, I think I told you this one, but I was on a trail one time and I was looking at something off trail and I heard like loud steps. It was the dry season, so there's a lot of leaves on the ground. And I turned around to yell at whoever was walking that loud. And this jaguar walked by and just went, what's up? Didn't break its stride, walked right by me as close, like your TV is as close as a jaguar was. Just at full speed, walked right by me, just went, yo. Just gave me this little head nod, like, yeah, I know you're there. It's okay. Never stopped walking, didn't care that I was there. And I was just standing there in the jungle with my finger up like, oh.
Oh, my God.
And then you go, holy shit, did that just happen? You got to go put your hands in the prints on the ground. Okay, yeah, that was real.
Well, you told the story last time about sleeping on the hammock and waking up to the breath of a jaguar right in your ear, like literally right here, and you were frozen, and then it left. Do you ever wonder why it didn't attack you?
No, I think they're curious, and I think that with cats, with the big cats in the wild, I think that their predatory. I was going to say their predatory proclivities, but I'll stop at the alliteration. Their predatory knowledge is so based on what their mothers teach them, so dependent on what their mothers teach them, that they're used to handling horizontal prey. So they're used to running after a rabbit. They're used to running after a deer. They're used to how to take down that deer, how to wrap it with your claws, how to get to its throat. And I think that a vertical naked primate that smells like shampoo and Old Spice, and like, I think they just get freaked out. I think they're just like, you know what, this thing has way too many smells, and just I have no idea how to go about killing this thing. I think that before they even go into predation response, I think they're just on curious mode. I think they're just like, I think me in a hammock at night, again, even if I've been in the jungle for days, I still probably smell like a bunch of human things. They can probably smell the old laundry detergent from the last time my clothes were washed. They can probably smell some bug spray that I might have used. They can probably smell the food that I ate yesterday. They probably know things far greater than that. But when this animal comes to you, it's in the situation where that happened, I would have been a jaguar that had never seen a human before, days into the jungle where nobody goes. And so this jaguar would be encountering its first human. So it wouldn't be, if it's smart, which it is, it wouldn't be going, oh, I'm just going to jump on it and sink my teeth into it. What if it bites back? What if it kicks back? What if it,
there's an unknown there.
Yeah, just come over and give a sniff, whatever else. Okay, fucking weird. Then go tell the other jaguars and be like, yeah, you never guess what I saw. It was a floating food. It was in a hammock. Have you guys heard of tacos?
I didn't eat it.
I didn't eat it. I passed on that one.
Oh my God.
And everything in the Amazon, the Amazon proper floods its banks every year, and like I heard that it can flood 13 miles in either direction. So you think of forests that you can walk through, flooded with 10, 15, 20 feet of water, and so every animal has to be able to swim. Tortoises, sloths, monkeys, everybody got to swim. We saw a deer crossing the river not that long ago. No. And it was going straight for a logging camp. And as this deer is motoring towards this logging camp, JJ's like, they're going to kill it. They're going to kill it. And I was like, well, let's do it. Shirt off.
Oh,
boat driver. We start going to try and get this deer. So I jump in the water. I'm in the water and I'm swimming. It's not there. It's not there.
I saw one with a deer. I know my photographic memory remembers that. You with a little deer?
There might be a photo of me hugging it down. But yes, I got it. I got up to it. I couldn't catch it because they have these slashing sharp hooves. And so JJ got in the river too, and then we both sort of corralled it. We got it by the neck. We kind of caught it like an anaconda. The boat driver's going in circles around us. And then we get this deer up onto the boat, and she kicks me in the chest. And I swear to God, I thought she was going to punch through my ribs. They're so strong. And so I was thinking,
little baby deer.
I mean, it's a deer the size of a golden retriever.
Okay.
But still, that wild muscle, that power that they have, if you're a jag and you get on that thing and you don't get it right, it could punch a hole in you, punch a hole straight through your heart. They have knives on their feet. So,
how long ago do we know, or do you know the science of the evolutionary aspect of that? Like how long ago they developed that? Has it been, I assume, tens of thousands of years?
I would go further back than that. I think the deer have been running from the wolves since, so it's always been, the prey animals are always just a hair faster than the predator, and then the predator's got to be smarter and got to be more, more endurance, and there's just this constant slow arms race. And so, in order for the deer to be there at all, they always had to have, incredible stealth, sharp hooves, the intelligence to outsmart a jaguar, and then the jaguars had to have the power to just smack down a deer and rip its throat out before it can kick them and injure them, because you get one kick in the jungle. You get your skin opened significantly, and then that's it.
That's over.
Then that's it. Everybody's coming in for a feast, and you can't sleep, and then you have botflies in your skin, and then it gets infected, and then you're dead. And then the jungle eats you, and then it turns you into a tree, and then the tree looks for sunlight, and then it falls over, and then fungus eats it.
The circle of life.
Just a giant death machine. I always say,
That's
like,
it.
life is just this momentary instant of stasis where it's like, okay, can you maintain this collection of cells before you get recycled back in, and then you turn into something else, and then you get recycled back in, and 400 generations later you come out as a frog, and you're like,
God damn it. I didn't deserve this. Before you ever went to the Amazon, had you ever studied some of the ancient history of the Amazon, or did you start looking at that after you initially came?
before I went to the Amazon, now it was all animals, but I was also a teenager, so
Right.
yeah, I wasn't.
JJ know a lot about that stuff? Is he like a historian too?
Once again, JJ's knowledge of the Amazon is shocking because, and it's so interesting because living out where he lives in the Amazon, he'll be like, I remember when I first got there, Bush was in office, and he was like, tell me about George Bush, and it was such an honest question. I was like, JJ, I don't know the guy. I was like, you've heard the same shit I've heard. And he was like, no, but like, what do you think? And he has this natural curiosity, so, well, okay, fine. But where you're from, what do the people think about the president? It's like, huh, cause usually I'm like, I don't want to talk about that shit. And then I was like, but for him, I was like, well, I'll tell you what I know. This is what I've heard. And then we both have this like,
Keep it on the D-Lo.
yeah, like we're both like, oh. But when you go, I wonder what the uncontacted do for fire. And JJ will be like, well, you know what I heard? And you're like, what? He's like, well, I'm good friends with the guy that knows a kid that they found floating down a log on the river who used to live with the Uncontacted Tribe. And he says, and like he'll go into how they make the fire, and he'll be like, I heard from this guy, and he'll never forget that nugget that
How
he got.
do they make the fire?
I have no idea. No, he did. He literally did that to me. He was like, do you know what he said? And he was like, do you want to know how they make it? And I was like, yes. And then he was like, I'll tell you when they're not here, because he didn't want to tell the other people that were like around. And then we just never got back to it. The other thing is, one of his brothers. Now this is weird because if I dropped you at my research station right now, at our research station, and said, go hike as long as you want. You have 48 hours. Come back with a rock the size of your fist. You will not be able to accomplish the task.
There's like no rocks there.
There's no rocks. It's clay. By the mouth of a stream, you may be able to find pebbles, like a couple of little quartz pebbles, but that's it. Everything else is clay.
Why are there no rocks again?
Something about geology.
All right, that narrows it down.
Birds. No, I actually haven't. I mean, basically, the Amazon used to be an inland sea, right? Like when it split off from Africa, the Proto-Congo River was connected to what was the original Amazon basin, which flowed in the opposite direction. And then they split off from each other, and South America hit the Nazca Plate, which sent the Andes up, which reversed the direction of the flow. And then the Amazon started flowing, but at that time, it was a inland sea, gradually flowing out into the Atlantic, desalinizing, which is why we have stingrays, dolphins, manatees that have all become native to the Amazon over those millions of years. And then you have the jungle spring up. So in our region, it's just we're at the edge of the mountains, and I think we're basically on old seabed at some point. And so that's also why the rainforest trees have those huge buttresses that go out, like that video where we're with Matt and that giant tree. Those buttresses go out because the trees stand like chess pieces on the ground. There's no point in putting roots deep into the ground because there's no nutrients down there. The soil is sterile. The particulate, they don't go down at all. Like a 150-foot tree might have roots that are 6 feet deep. Yep. Like one thick taproot for water, and then a couple of little silly things that you could cut with a machete. So that tree is standing there like a chess piece.
How does
it's
the
just standing
physics
there.
of that work?
Well, that's why they have the wide base, just like a chess piece.
I know, but still, that wouldn't get blown over?
It does. The jungle relies on the jungle to protect it from getting blown over. So the wind goes across the jungle. So that's another thing that happens when we see deforestation, is that once you make a wall in the jungle, let's say you clear this, well, then the wind gets in there and starts smacking down the rest of the trees.
Oh my God.
The jungle depends on the jungle to hold each other up, It's like a rugby scrum.
It's like a house of cards.
It really is, because we've seen some really big trees go over.
Wait, but that tree house is on the edge of a fucking cliff?
Yes.
I'm not going in
don't
that
tell the
goddamn
people.
thing. No, nope. I'll look at you up in it and wave.
Okay. Wait, where were we going? We were going somewhere. Oh, JJ's brother. Okay, so we don't really have rocks, but there are stone tools left over in the jungle from another time. So the uncontacted tribes in their territory, this is where it gets really crazy, and this is where you need someone like JJ to explain what the hell is going on. They found an abandoned camp of uncontacted tribes. Okay, so you have a little palm shelter, you have a little bowl, you have like a few different things scattered around. You can see footprints everywhere.
When did they find this?
This was like maybe 15 years ago, and there was a piece of log that they had been cutting fish or something on. Not fish, because they don't, I was just giving an example, but they actually don't really fish, these people. They don't have fish hooks, and they don't seem to, because we don't have clear water either, they don't shoot their arrows into the water because you can't see the fish. So they just don't fish. So whatever they were doing, JJ's brother found a stone axe head. Now, there are no stones, and these people don't work with stones. So these stones, I went and did the research on this. These stones are left over from, let's say, the Incas. So maybe it was the Incas that came down into the jungle, reconnaissance or looking to something. So maybe 700 years ago they came and they threw a stone axe head on the ground. Uncontacted tribes are walking around everywhere. They find the stone axe head. Interestingly enough, there are tribes that have had this happen to, where they pick up the old stone artifact and they go, the gods are giving us tools. It's just laying on the ground. It's obviously made for us, and their interpretation of it is somebody left it here for us.
Is it a possibility that that stone could have been from the conquistadors? That stone arrow? That wouldn't make sense, right?
No. You can tell. I mean, it's beautifully designed. Not
like
by
Western Europeans.
Not by Western hands. No, it's not the type. You can deeply see it. It looks like Machu Picchu stone. Actually, it really looks Inca. It's a beautiful stone, heavy stone axe, with a little notch in it for, where you could tie it to something or grip it and probably just use it with your hand. It's an amazing piece. But again, if I was to find that on the beach, I would have been like, wow, the uncontacted people made a stone axe. And like these guys are like, no, they didn't do that. And here's 9 reasons why. And they understand the history. And then back to Graham Watkins is you do see indications where humans lived, that humans lived there. So for instance, Graham Watkins? Graham Hancock? No, wait, who the hell is Graham Watkins?
I don't know. I was like, does he mean Graham Hancock?
I might just be mixing people's names together.
Yeah,
I have no idea.
Might be 2 guys, whatever.
But no, so the thing is, there's this constant debate. Like, was there more people in the Amazon? Was there not? Yes, there was a lot of people in the Amazon. There's still, 20, 30 million people that live in the Amazon today. But what's interesting when you go around, let's say we're on the river for 2 weeks, you go through places where you could tell by the vegetation that it's completely wild primary forest. There's giant kapok trees, there's ironwood trees. If you go really wild, there's even mahogany trees still. There's incredible primary climactic forest out there. Then you get to a confluence where there's 2 rivers, and suddenly you'll see like a banana tree. Well, somebody stopped there and dropped it because bananas were engineered in Asia and came over. So obviously somebody that had some connection to the outside world at some point stopped there, and that's how that got there. So we know that. And so that's where you start to see this. The crazy thing is that these guys all know. My local team, if you ask guys like Victor or JJ who've been out, 15 days past the last village by boat, they'll tell you, oh yeah, there's you can go for 15 days and it's totally wild, but then there's this one spot where we do find pottery. And pottery, you're talking about pre-uncontacted tribes. You're talking about
6,000 years ago, 8,000 years ago.
I don't know. I don't know how many thousands of years ago, but you're talking about more than 500 years ago. You're talking about like the civilizations that came before the modern era. Because 500 years ago,
how much do we know about those?
Absolutely nothing. And I feel like it's all guesswork because everything I've read is, okay, so there's the Pleistocene overkill extinction theory that says that the mastodons and the giant ground sloths and the glyptodons and all those things that the megafauna that went extinct from North America, which is a huge, awesome wormhole to go down. But
Let's
they say,
go down it.
okay, well, they're saying that, if Clovis man came from the Bering Strait and entered North America first, okay, and then moved down into Central America, okay, and then somehow got into the Amazon, and then that's the basis. That's humans getting to the Americas. They came, Africa, Asia, over and down. This is what I was always taught. And then they said, well, humans were responsible, not just the changing temperatures, not just the end of the ice age, but humans were also responsible for pushing the mastodons to extinction. And you say, but how many humans were there? And if you listen to the math of, a human clan and how many mastodons they would take down per month, per year, how they could just follow the herds and hunt them whenever they wanted to, and they would just basically annihilate these animals, how there are still giant ground sloth burrows, caves that you can walk in from these giant 13-foot tall giant ground sloth burrows in Brazil. But now here's the crazy part where all that was going, is that the extinction dates match up with that theory. So mastodons and giant ground sloths extinct in North America, 15,000 years ago. Mastodons and giant ground sloths extinct in Central America, 10,000 years ago. Giant ground sloths extinct on the islands like Haiti and Cuba, 5,000 years ago. And it corresponds with when humans got there, because they didn't get there till 5,000 years later. So it's like a pretty smoking gun type of relationship between when these animals blinked off.
Take me that last part again. It correlates 5,000 years ago. Correlates why?
This is what I read, that as humans made their way down North America into Central America and then down to South America, you start to see the species blinking out, the megafauna of the Pleistocene. And so if 15,000 years ago the last ground sloth walked on North America, so 15,000 years ago the last ground sloth walked on North America, then Central America soon after, maybe around 12,000 years ago, but that the ground sloth didn't go extinct on the islands until 5,000 years ago, a shorter timeline. And then in Brazil, you still have, these were dug by a giant ground sloth, these caves. So the edges of that cave were carved by the hands, by the claws of a massive extinct mammal.
That's fucking terrifying.
Yeah. I mean, imagine
this thing
a
is huge.
13-foot tall giant ground sloth, a huge herbivore, slow-moving, that ancient civilizations of humans wiped out. That's one of like the major cryptozoology things, is some people still believe that there could be populations of giant ground sloths still living in the Amazon.
Underground.
There could be a place where they're living underground.
That puts a chill up my spine.
Can you go back to this just like one page back? I just want to see if they have a picture of what it looked like for a giant, I don't know, like what a giant ground sloth. Yeah, like look at and then the craziest, like look at those skeletons. Like the craziest thing is the story of how the North American giant ground sloth was discovered was actually discovered by Thomas Jefferson. Because Thomas Jefferson used to love to assemble skeletons. And at the time, he was assembling mammoth mastodon skeletons. And what actually was happening, so when he sent Lewis and Clark out, they were tasked with finding where the mastodons were.
Oh, shit.
I mean, that was one of their mandates.
Okay.
And then African slaves identified and said, hey, some of these bones that you're finding, these are elephants. He was like, well, where the hell are the elephants? And according to his beliefs, is the Christianity, he believed that extinction wasn't possible. So he was like, they just must have moved to another part of North America.
Yeah,
and then
explain it away.
As he was assembling mammoth bones, he discovered the giant ground sloth. And that's why I believe the North American giant ground sloth is Megalonyx jeffersoni, which described by a president.
Wow. I don't know any of this. This is like a whole new rabbit hole I got to go down.
Yeah. But I mean, imagine North America with with a whole different set of giant animals walking around on it. And apparently we killed them all.
Well, you know, Ryan's, I think, like slightly friends with those guys. I forget their name, but he wants to get them on the podcast here. I definitely want to do it with those guys who are trying to recreate the woolly mammoth right now.
Yep.
I saw the eye roll right there. I saw the eye roll. The camera saw it too.
No. There was no eye roll. I don't know what you're talking about. I was taking a drink and I saw the light.
You can.
Blinding.
This is a safe space.
Is it?
You can tell me
Is
what
it
you
safe?
think.
No one's gonna hear this, right?
What you don't like the idea of recreating old species?
I think it's a great idea. I just don't think that that's creating a species.
I don't know enough about it to counter that, but like,
Exactly.
What do you mean?
I think that. Okay. There's an article in the New York Times from like 1917 where they're like, flight is impossible. It won't be achieved for another 100 years. And of course, like 2 years later, the Wright brothers nailed it. And whoever wrote that article was dead ass wrong. But an animal is not just a pile of cells. So yes, you could take mammoth DNA and put it back into an Asian elephant's egg and get a 98% woolly mammoth, and then in 2 generations or whatever they have a whole plan to get back to woolly mammoths. But here's my question. If you remember the fact that elephants mourn their dead, if you remember the fact that you'd be creating a new hybridized species that doesn't have any peers, it doesn't have any others of its kind. It's a strange concept to me. I don't also believe them.
You don't believe them?
No, I don't believe they're as close as they say they are. I think it's a lot of hype. I think it's a hype machine. I'd love to be proved wrong. I would love to see a woolly mammoth in my lifetime, but this is kind of like the aliens thing. It's like, show me. And until you can, I'm not interested.
That's fair.
The other thing is, what they should do is if they bring back the woolly mammoth, then they should put them out in their natural environment and let them walk around and use that to help protect Siberian tigers and totally rewild some of that ecosystem. And that would probably be a huge economic driver for the far east of Russia where wild space is, which would be amazing. It would turn it into something really positive.
They'll never let them give that shit to Putin. Be like, no woolly mammoth for you, Vlad.
So exactly. So where do these new woolly mammoths live? And who teaches them how to be woolly mammoths?
Not Hoboken. Tell you that.
Not Hoboken. There's a lot of questions. I think what I'm struggling against is that I have a deep respect for the fact that when you catch a fish, that fish is a descendant of fish that have been surviving in those rivers for millions of years. It is a story as old as the river. And we were fishing in the Amazon not that long ago, and we pulled up this giant paco, and it flopped into the boat, and it was going around, and like even eating it, like it was such an important thing. It was like, this animal is you're touching this animal that can only exist because it has been part of a lineage that was the most successful versions of this fish for millions and millions and millions and millions of years until it came to you. And that is such a complex thing. It's such a unique thing. And that goes for all these animals, especially wild animals, whether it's a harpy eagle, whether it's a fox, whether it's a snail, it doesn't matter. It's the result of an incredible amount of evolutionary work. And I just hear people throwing around a lot of big speak these days. Yeah. Oh, this is how we're going to live on Mars. Okay. This is how, the woolly mammoths are going to make your bed. Yeah. Can you even stop tigers from going extinct before you start trying to reanimate your new, Franken mammoths? Yeah. To me, as someone that's spent my life on the front lines of trying to defend species and ecosystems that exist right now,
we can't even do that.
We can't even do that. So what is this genetic experiment proving to us? And then this kind of goes back to the same thing where you're like, well, if the Amazon was a garden that's made by humans, we can just do whatever we want to it. Right. It's like, well, if humans, if animal species are just things that we can just delete and then reanimate, maybe that's the case. Maybe I'm wrong. You know what I mean? In that case, great. Let's bring back the Caspian tiger. Let's bring back T-Rexes. But
it's also, here's the one caveat to that, though. It's also human nature. Yeah. If you run a company, a service business of some sort, let's say it's like an advertising business, and you get a client, you get a big client, You're really excited about that. And
Sure.
we got Don Draper sitting on the wall in 2 different pictures back there. And I remember in that show when they landed a big client one time, Roger Sterling looked at him and said, the first day you have a client is the first day you're closer to losing them. There's something about once we have the fish in the boat and we have the catch, we don't appreciate what we have, but we're always looking for the new fish to get into the boat. And so I feel like the truth lies probably in the middle of where you are and where they are. And that means that we do have to do a way better job at making our bed, right? And taking care of the things we have. And we shouldn't get too far ahead of ourselves, worried about all these things when we can't even keep ourselves in order.
Yeah.
But B, we do have the technological means to do some of what they say.
Sure.
That said, I like that you look at it the way you do with like a grain of salt and caution, because we all know what people do. Everyone's trying to sell a big game with shit. That's why people on the internet look at stories you say, for example, and go, that can't be true, right?
Because they're
like,
used to the shit sale.
right,
Yeah.
exactly.
But now here's the thing, and this is an important distinction. I do agree with you that, and I heard Elon Musk say this when people were going after him, going, how could you spend all this money going to space when we can't even fix the environment? And he went, not everything is about a tragedy. He goes, some things are about, that's human nature. We want to celebrate and see what we can do and land rockets. And like, yes, some of it has to just because we can. And so that's where I say, if we can bring back woolly mammoths, let's try it. But then the other side of that is, it doesn't interest me that much. I'm way more interested in hearing that we're going to have, if you told me that we were going to have double the population of black rhinos in 10 years, I'd be like, that's cool. Woolly mammoths, that would be a...
Fuck the woolies.
No, I'd love to see
Rosolie
it.
2024. Fuck the woolies.
No. I would love to see a woolly mammoth, man. That would be cool. But I want it to be done right. I want to see it. There's something. It's just like the way that, people, I've had so many people come up to me and be like, oh, did you hear they're bringing back woolly mammoths? It's like, oh, did you hear they traded Jeter? It's like, bro, it's not even real yet. Like, you're talking about it like it's real. Like, it's not real yet.
Yeah,
I'm open to it, but
yes, I understand.
just like people, do you want to see me lift this car? It's like, okay, Chuck, show me. I'm such a skeptic. I just don't believe anyone.
Have they found anything? Have there been any cool archaeological findings or anthropological findings? I guess that's kind of the same thing in the Amazon recently that are maybe charting back to some of the origins of it?
Well, the origins of the Amazon go back way, way before we got there, but
Africa floating in between with Congo and all that shit.
I haven't. My radar hasn't ticked for anything new except for that the LiDAR stuff. We're going to start to be able to see what's beneath the canopy, because 150 feet is a lot.
Yes.
Picture a 150-foot tall pyramid. You wouldn't be able to see it.
Hold that thought, by the way.
Yeah.
I'm coming back to that, but
yeah.
keep going.
Oh yeah, they're out there. They're out there.
All right, we'll get to that. We'll get to that. LiDAR. I'm going to get to the pyramid in a minute.
LiDAR is going to allow us to see what's the actual topography is beneath the trees. And so if, let's just say there's a hidden pyramid that was built on top of the last civilization of giant ground sloths, and the uncontacted tribes are sitting there growing gold out of orchids and protecting the giant ground sloths and drinking ayahuasca, well, then LiDAR is going to help us find it.
All right, well, let's go right there. Because last time, the first episode we did, you left people with an enormous cliffhanger at the end, which was huge blue balls. But we were talking about Percy Fawcett, which is one of my favorite topics. You really got me into that. And that whole guy's life. And we've talked about that on a bunch of other podcasts since you've been here. So most people listening have heard that story. But you mentioned on top of that you had heard from someone else who was like I think if I'm remembering the context right, was like a historian of Fawcett and the search for El Dorado, who told you the general area where openly they're like, there's 2 pyramids right there, and there's tribes that have never even been contacted by the uncontacted tribes we know about.
Yeah. So could you pull up buried pyramid, or like maybe Machu Picchu before and after? Because some of these archaeological sites, when they find them, look at this, archaeological sites before and after, when they find them, Or like, can you type in jungle covered pyramid before and after? Sorry, that's really long. But
Jungle covered pyramid before and after.
because these are some of the pyramids I want to say in Mexico or Belize. This is not my area of expertise, but I saw this thing the other day.
Oh, the one right there, the second one
so
down
when
on
they
the left?
find when they
On the
find
left?
them, they're covered
Nope,
with
up
jungle.
one. And back left. Yep, that one.
Like,
Is that what you're talking about?
yeah, but see, that one's been cleaned up. That one's been like, that's still got like that's like been made into a landing strip. Like, there's ones where it's just jungle. It's just jungle. And like so just type in Machu Picchu before and after. This will give you an idea. Because when they found Machu Picchu, it really just looks like the side of a mountain. Look at this. Look, before and after. So when Hiram Bingham went up there.
That one?
Yeah, right. That's perfect. Yep. Look at that.
Whoa.
So you would never know there was an ancient city under that jungle. See if you can. Sorry, can you go back and just find the
LiDAR?
Yeah, you go. There you go. There you go. Look at that. Look at that. So when he went up there, think about looking
All
out
the
and
way over.
you just see some bushes. You're like, oh, some bushes, and then you don't even realize what's under there.
How old is this?
What year? 104 years. Well, I don't remember
Scroll that.
what year.
Scroll that back.
How old
over.
is Machu Picchu, or how old is
This?
Was it this? This is Machu Picchu now. I was just there a few months ago.
No, but when did this emanate from? Like, so this is how they found it.
Inca. Dude, and they
That
built
much vegetation happened over this? Because the Inca
that's
aren't that long ago.
hundreds of years, a few hundred
Yeah,
years.
but still. That's all rock.
Vegetation, dude. If you leave the jungle, right now, look at what you're looking at right now with those grassy steppes and the rocks. If you left that for, I'm going to say 2 years, you wouldn't be able to see a thing.
So their groundskeepers are working on this every day.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I don't know, but I mean, this is a little bit higher in elevation than where I work. Like, we're down in the lowlands. This is up high. If you have like a shed, let's just picture like anybody's backyard shed, and you leave that, and you cut a little square around the shed and put the shed in the jungle. You leave for 2 years and come back, it's gone. Termites, trees, that's gone.
Eats itself.
Yeah. And again, anything you level, if there's jungle around it, the animals will just, and the seeds and everything will just like dandelion down onto the ground, and just the jungle grows up. The balsa trees, the cecropia trees, all those pioneer species will just grow up, and then as their leaves fall, you get a little bit of leaf litter on the ground, and sooner or later, a bat drops an ironwood seed on the ground. Boom! All of a sudden, you got an ironwood growing. And it's got sunlight too, because you're in a clearing, so it jumps up for 20 feet in the first year, and so it's like the jungle will take it back so quickly. And that's the other thing that's the dumb part of being a conservationist. It's like, if you just let tigers have some jungle with plenty of deer and don't shoot them with Rolls-Royce machine guns, they'll be fine. They've been here for millions of years. If you just stop cutting down the entire fucking Amazon rainforest, we'd stop talking about it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We'd just be like, wow, this is an awesome place, the Amazon. It's super fun to go look for archaeological shit. It's filled with wildlife and medicine.
20% of the world's oxygen.
Yeah, and 20% of the world's fresh water. It's an amazing place. So cool. Hey, you want to go surfing? It'd be such a different reality, because we wouldn't be like, dude, they're ruining it.
Right.
But I think we'll get there. Again,
But this is over in Machu Picchu. The ones you were talking about sounded like they were like in the heart of the darkness, in the middle of the Amazon.
motherfucker didn't take my diversion. No, I did tell you that. And I did not anticipate being back here so soon. I can't give you much more information. I was thinking like, in like 3 years after I've gone there.
I don't believe you. I think you've been there. I'm going to have Andy give you a polygraph later.
Yo, fuck that. I'm not coming out to dinner.
We're meeting Emilio Bellatos with a fucking polygraph.
No, what I can tell you is this. I have everybody has to just chalk it up to, we all have our verifiable sources. If somebody tells you, I know a place where there's big fish. Okay, well, is this guy a dipshit or not? And it's like, well, some of the most hardcore, no joke local guys I know, not in the region I work, but not too far from there in the central Amazon, have uncovered the fact that there are pyramids beneath the canopy that nobody knows about. And here's the logistical problem is that you can't go explore these pyramids because they are guarded by the uncontacted
They're
tribes.
guarded by them, or they
are living there. So whether they're living on them out of, oops, or they happen to be, it seems kind of a big swing of coincidence that there happen to be these amazing archaeological structures under the canopy of the Amazon, and the uncontacted people just happen to be living on them. Or have they been there for a long time, and is there a connection there?
Are we sure they're not aliens?
I'm almost positive that they're aliens. Don't tell anybody.
Okay. Your secret of mine.
Yeah. But again, one thing that's funny is that people underestimate how big the Amazon is. Like if this table was, we're flying in a plane, and this line is a river, and then this line is a river. In between those two rivers, no one's been there.
Yeah.
No one's been there. You can reliably walk to a spot in the forest and put your foot down and go, no human has stepped here.
What if the world just did like a giant invasion all at once from the air? Like just dropped every military in.
Just step every spot.
Yeah, everywhere.
Ha!
Just like we're here.
It'd be annoying.
It'd be very annoying, right? That would knock down a few trees.
No,
sure.
but what I'm saying though is that like when you look at where the archaeologists are able to go, where the botanists are able to go, where the wildlife biologists are able to go, a lot of them are the same sites. A lot of people, there's established research stations where people go to study tropical ecology, and that's where they go. And I could name them. I know where they are. But there's also sites where you could hire a guy with a helicopter and go 7 hours that way and have him drop you down on the side of a beach, and you're at the edge of a river that would take you 15 days to get to by boat. And if you made it, and when you go into that jungle, you walk in 2-3 days in one direction, and you're still 70 miles from the nearest major tributary. Nobody's surveyed that. Nobody from our world has surveyed that. Maybe an uncontacted person has wandered through there at some point in history, but century to century, nobody's crossing through that forest, which means the species that exist there, the medicines that are contained in those plants, there are things in that forest that we don't know about. And there is so much of that out in the Amazon. And people talk about the Amazon as if they can comprehend the size of it. Just like people, the ocean is this. No, you don't get to talk like that. When you're in a dinghy and there's 40-foot swells and there's thunderheads over you, then you tell me about what you think about the ocean with some respect. And when you see the Amazon and how big it is, when you're in a little tiny Cessna, it's just it's like the size of a Prius, and you just have these stupid wings and it's shaking, and you're flying over the jungle and you go, holy shit, if this thing goes down, it will be months before I reach civilization. And by that time, my flashlight will have worn out. I will not, even if you survive the plane crash, like your ability to do anything, it takes you right back to what I said, like go out in the rain onto a mountain and just survive one night. Do like a little one night episode of Alone with yourself.
It's nothing compared to it.
And it's not even a fraction of a % of what it's like to survive in the Amazon. And so when it's just funny when people are like, oh yeah, we've explored everything. It's like, really?
Oh, dude, that's the thing. Imagine like America, we're covered in nothing but ravenous canopy jungle, right? And imagine you're from New Jersey, which is on the far edge where there's actually, let's say you're in New York City, far edge where there's actually open space that's not a jungle. Imagine just getting dropped in any one of the flyover states. We can't even navigate it today in some places.
I was gonna say, how long? Like, I remember reading, what was it like George Washington to get from Philly to like New York? Like, it took like a few weeks.
I don't know if it's a few weeks, but it took a while.
Gotta be like 5 days. Like, come on,
at
least
a couple days. Yeah.
Actually, when I was coming here, I got on my maps this morning with like one eye open, and it was like, holy shit, it's really raining out. I hit the thing, and it gave me the walking instructions, and it was like 1 day and 7 hours, and I was like, cool.
Fuck it, I'll do it.
No, but it's like we forget. We get on a plane, and it's like you can get on a plane and be in the Amazon in like 8 hours.
Yeah,
it's crazy. Like, whereas if that, then let's just say all planes were grounded and you had to walk back, you might not see mom again. Like, it's going to take you a while.
David Grand told a story in his book, and I haven't read it in a while, so I can't remember the exact details, but he told a story in his book about a Brazilian, like high level, I think, businessman who wanted to be an explorer and find what Percy Fawcett was seeking to find El Dorado. And he went in there into the jungle, I believe, with a plane, a few guys, and one of them was like a son of his. So similar to Fawcett, by the way. And they were abducted by the uncontacted tribes.
That's it?
And somehow, no.
Never seen again?
No.
Oh.
They lived to tell the tale. Somehow they like negotiated leaving some shit for them and like got help in there to negotiate directly with the head of the tribe who spoke obviously no English.
Yeah.
And he got out, but they were like going to kill them. And this is just, you know, some of these tribes, you can see pictures of it online. I don't know if we can pull it up, Chris, but type in Amazon uncontacted tribes. Don't lose that link, actually, what we have right there. Don't lose that. We need that. But type on a new, perfect. Amazon uncontacted tribes. Love it. All right, images. So like you see those, like the first and second ones there. So like we have some images when we go above, when we've had some helicopters and planes take shots of what appear to be tribes that are previously unrecognized in the Amazon. And it looks crazy, and they're looking at us like we're fucking aliens.
Yeah.
But even like there's what you're saying is there's layers and layers inside of them that make that look like new era.
Yeah. There's a lot of like this picture that we're zooming in on now is
and they're trying to shoot at the fucking plane.
Yeah.
What's that? What'd you say? That's like 5-foot bamboo tip spears?
Yeah. Longer than that. They're like 7 foot.
Oh, that's nice.
They're like 7 foot arrows.
Have you had any run-in? Yeah, that looks like a ghost right there.
That looks terrifying.
Have you had any run-ins with uncontacted since last time?
No. I think I learned my lesson.
Yeah, your one boy had like it slit, like edge of his head, almost killed him.
Yeah, he took an arrow to the head, but that I didn't realize how recently. When I talked to you last time, I didn't realize how recently he got shot. He was shot in 2019. That's not that long ago.
There was another one though when you were at my parents' house with Ryan before you and I recorded, and then you went back. It was August, so you went back to the Amazon because it was like fire season.
Oh yeah,
and you were texting me from
Did I
a
send
sat
you the dead
phone.
bodies?
They didn't get through if you did, but you were texting me the details from a sat phone, and you were like, "Yeah, one of the other guys' rangers was just killed by a fucking uncontacted tribe spear the other day." I'm like, "Oh my god, like they're everywhere."
Well, we share a border with them, so part of which is weird because jungle keepers, you start out to protect rainforest, and then you realize you have to help the local people, and they're, you have loggers and gold miners, and you realize, these are people that just don't have an alternative. So you try and help them to become rangers, and so you employ them to become rangers, and then we're trying to protect more and more habitat because these roads keep trying to go around the reserve and then cut in. And so the more we protect, the more the roads try and cut in. So we're trying to make this ecological corridor, but as we come towards the national park, the uncontacted tribes are there. And so some of the land that we're protecting, we have to come up with a protocol to where the rangers have to be able to handle the fact that there are uncontacted people there. So you have to patrol in a different way. We have to use drone patrol. We have to just make sure there's no deforestation. We can even use up-to-date satellite imagery because you cannot have people in the vicinity.
Well,
of these people.
Sometimes they're hiding up in the trees.
Yeah, but I mean, as anybody that's a ranger for us at this point has a job and medical insurance, and it's a job. They're modern people, and you can't ask. Those people don't want you. If I told you have to, on your shift today, you got to just drive past those people.
No,
you'd be like, nah, I'm good. I don't want to be eaten.
Yeah, that's a nightmare. So you think something like this could be guarding those pyramids? What do you said you didn't expect to be asked about it yet, but generally speaking, are we talking like more center-ish of the Amazon?
I can safely say I think it's in the center of the Amazon, but I obviously would never go to specificity on watershed.
All right.
I mean, if it's true, it's going to be one of the biggest, discoveries of
ever.
But
greatest ancient discovery in human history, potentially.
Maybe bigger than Machu Picchu. But the crazy thing about their arrows is that their arrows are tipped with bamboo, and you're talking about like a 17-inch tip. but I was talking to a partner organization's rangers, and they were going upriver on a patrol, and the Uncontacted just flung a warning shot out. Warning shot arrow hits the side of the boat. It's inch-thick tropical hardwood, and the arrow went straight through it into the boat. And
Well,
luckily,
thanks for the warning. At least they know that.
luckily it wasn't where everybody was like down, nobody got killed. But they said the way it just shattered the wood. Holy shit. And then I do know one scientist who put out camera traps in a very remote...
Put out camera traps?
Well, we use camera traps to monitor wildlife populations,
yeah.
right? So we do that all the time. I have camera traps out in the jungle right now. One guy got uncontacted tribes on those camera traps.
Did they see the camera?
I haven't seen him. He hasn't shown anybody, but I know he has them because I know who saw him.
What did he say about him?
Absolutely nothing, because it's like of all the Pokemon you could get on a camera trap, man.
Well,
you check in, you're like, okay, that's it's a peccary. I got a jaguar, I got a deer, and then like a giant fucking ground sloth walks by on a leash with an uncontacted guy, and you're like, oh shit.
Well, we're gonna need to get that guy in here and sit him across from us
everything.
with the videos and break them down, because that'll be nuts. But you're working on another book right now, no?
Oh yeah, that's
what's the
full-time.
concept?
That is okay. So if Mother of God is, I dreamed of going to the Amazon. I got to the Amazon, big snakes, adventures, JJ, everything great. By the end of Mother of God, we're getting into the realm of the time where we started to realize that we were seeing forest destroyed. And so here I am in my early 20s, watching forest get burned to the ground, standing beside this indigenous conservationist who's devoted his life to protecting the Amazon. And I remember saying to JJ, who do we call? This is unacceptable. This is horrendous. It's damaging to watch. It's heartbreaking to lose. Who do we call to stop this from happening? And he looked at me and he goes, we're out past where the police go. We're out past society. There is no one out here. He goes, if we want to do anything, we have to do it. But at that time, the concept of us doing anything about it was so insane, because you're talking about the Trans-Amazon Highway, like Brazil, China, these massive geopolitical forces that are conspiring to take apart the Amazon rainforest. And so going from I like the jungle and I like snakes to how do we start forming something? How do you start? So this book includes like that story that I was telling you about catching the largest anaconda with the whole team. Like that was post Mother of God. That happened after that.
Yeah. Yeah. You wrote Mother of God years ago now.
Years ago.
Yeah.
And so even by the time I had the luck of getting to meet Jane Goodall and having, I asked if she would endorse the book, and she read some chapters and she gave me an endorsement for that book. But that happened after I wrote the book.
Yeah.
And it's like that was a major event. And so forming Jungle Keepers, deciding as we're standing there on the side of a river, bare feet with machetes, we call it the Barefoot Machete Days. We're standing there and saying we cannot watch this forest get taken apart. We had this impossible challenge, which was how do we stop the trees from falling? How do we stop the systemic forces that are destroying this forest? And it's the story of how we went from that to being the Jungle Keepers and protecting 50,000 acres, and how basically an indigenous-led conservation initiative somehow managed to go global. And now we have supporters from all over the world.
That's an amazing thing.
We have, it's
you
just...
did that.
I was part of it. And most of it, everything goes back in the end to JJ. So a large part of this book is going to be really delving into him and what he knows and getting that down. So for example, that ayahuasca story that I told you, like that shaman died during COVID.
Oof.
Now think about this. All of his grandparents who knew all of those medicinal compounds that taught him all the ways of the forest. Did he teach it to his kids? Did he have time to teach everything to his kids before he died? Because if he didn't, there might be a dead end. We might have lost something. There might have been a light that went out when he died.
Oh, that's terrifying.
And so there's a thing that's happening with indigenous knowledge where, the new generation, you have this old guy who lives in the forest like JJ's dad or Don Ignacio, the shaman. And these guys grew up in the forest and they lived in the forest, and you can see it in the calluses on their feet. They're, 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 they're weathered old faces, and they're old hombres de la selva. And, 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 then their kids are wearing Air Jordans and on TikTok. And there's a huge break.
Yes.
And so I got to see a little bit of the old guard. I got to hang out with JJ's dad. You know, now people come, you know, we get people for the treehouse, or people come and we tell stories, and it's like Don Santiago is this mythical person. And we have that bond that, you know, at least I got to meet him. You know, at least we got to hang out with him.
You're going to write about that.
Yeah.
I love it.
And so going from, you know, a bunch of dudes on the side. I mean, I was 18 and he was 32. And now when I show him silly comments on YouTube, he puts on his glasses and he's watching and he's like, this is funny. And like, it's been a minute.
Well, we got to get JJ in here as well.
Yeah,
we talked about that last time. It'd be amazing to do a podcast with you guys. So let's try to hook that up. But we do. I got Jim DiOrio blowing us up to get to Emilio Bolanos for this reservation. So I'm not done, but I know you're not done
either.
But,
I want people.
We're gonna have to cut it off. But look, this link, Jungle Keepers,
here.
going to be down in the description below, as well as a link to Paul's Instagram and any other links. Go follow. Go give some money to Jungle Keepers. You know exactly where it's going. It's going to this guy to do what he does. We'll have you back in when you're putting out that book within the next year or so, I guess.
Hopefully.
Something like that.
Yeah, next year at this time, we'll make it a yearly tradition, man.
But good luck going back down there again. You're doing amazing work, and we love supporting you here. Thank you, brother.
Appreciate it.
All right, dude. Everybody else, you know what it is. Give it a thought. Get back to me. Peace. Thank you for watching the video, guys. If you haven't already subscribed, please smash that subscribe button and check out this clip's full podcast episode by clicking here